Hello, everyone. Welcome to Lovable Shift, episode 2, our very first fireside chat. I'm so excited for today. Thank you to everybody joining us from all over the world. Put in the chat where you're watching from. What time is it there? It's like lunchtime for me. But before we get started, before I introduce our wonderful speakers for today, I do have a couple of housekeeping for everybody who is participating in Shift. Okay, so first, most importantly, weekly updates will open tonight at midnight Pacific time. And submitting that update for today, you will unlock your over $3 million in perks. So you're going to want to submit your updates. Okay, I see people from Kansas City, South Africa, New York, Nigeria, Ashburn, Miami, Puerto Rico. Love it, love it. So you're going to get an email with that update information. And it's going to have everything you need to know. So don't worry, you're going to get an email today with that update information. Now, a lot of people have had questions about the leaderboard that was on Circle. I have turned it off because that is not the shipped leaderboard. That was just a feature of Circle so we can see if you're being engaged. And it's very important to note that being active in the community only gains you extra points. And it's not about how many times you post or you comment, it's about how helpful you are and how many likes that your posts get. So one like equals one post. One like equals 1 point. So if you're making good content and people are engaging with your content in Circle, you get extra points throughout the week. However, your main focus should be on shipping your product. We're here to ship. Find friends along the way, but your main focus should be on shipping your product. Also, a lot of people had trouble finding the clerk in Lovable workshop. So make sure you check the announcements in Circle for that. And the last thing, I do want to shout out some small wins from our community. So Kyla Love started a live stream Build in Public, aka the AI Homegirl. So she's here on YouTube. You should check out her live streams. They're really fun. Several members, including Harash, Jonah, and Gabriel, have launched their landing pages and waitlist. Kudos to them. Sabrina Stoker, she built a form that got her users an increased engagement for her web app. So, congrats to that. Cyan Salon, sorry if I messed up your name. Cyan Salon hosted an AI workshop to engage with founders and gather insight. Eve just launched her paid plans. I saw her in the chat. So congrats to you, Eve. And Malik Saeed just hit 100 users on his at Notify AI. So I'm going to do some confetti. Okay, congratulations to everybody on their small wins. Now, that's enough of me and the housekeeping and me going blah 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 blah. You're not here to see me. I mean, you can't be here to see me, but you're not here to see me. We're here to see our amazing speakers. And today we have two wonderful people. First, we have Dani Grant. She is the CEO of Jam, a dev tool startup helping 30,000 people improve their bug reporting process. Before Jam, Dani was an early product manager at Cloudflare and also worked as a VC at Union Square Ventures. We also have Claire Vo. She is the Chief Product and Technology Officer at launchdarkly. She founded chatprd, an AI-powered tool designed to assist product managers. Previously, Claire held Chief Product Officer roles at Color and Optimizely after it acquired her startup, Experiment Engine. So everybody, please give a warm virtual round of applause for Dani and Claire. Welcome.
You guys, it's so fun to be here. It is like freaking incredible how much stuff you are building. It's so cool. Like, just the world needs more software, and all of you have picked a corner of the world that you want to improve, and you're not waiting for anyone. You're just building the app and making changes, and it's so cool to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited to talk to one of my favorite people, which is Dani, who is an amazing builder, and then get to talk to all of you who are building such incredible things.
Yeah, so I'm gonna leave you two to it. You have a wonderful plan for everybody, and I'm so excited to watch. And if you have questions, please put those questions in the chat, append them with a Q so we know that they're a question, and they'll have time for Q&A at the end of their talk. So have fun, everyone.
So, well, we can also answer questions throughout.
Yeah.
Claire is my, not to embarrass you, you're my startup hero on the internet. Um, what she's building, if you haven't tried it, it's called chatprd, and it is the best, like, right-hand person to any product person. It helps you think through your work, do your work, be more effective, be a more effective communicator. It's grown super rapidly, and she's built it in this sort of really, like, positive, build in public way. Like, just there's just an internet, like, whirlwind after this startup. And we wanted to share with all of you who are in week 1 of Shift what we wished we knew when we were in week 1 of our startups. And so the first question we have for the chat is, we're wondering, what's the hardest part right now? What is the biggest challenge for all of you in this moment that we can talk about what we wished we knew? Is it like building the MVP? Is it figuring out what to build? Is it how to get your first 10 users? I'll start with a question for you, Claire.
Yeah.
When you were figuring out what's the MVP, like, what do you wish you knew before you brought in your first user ever?
So this is interesting. I have been doing startups for a very, very long time. And so I have come into Chat PRD with a lot of hard-earned, painful lessons and wisdom. So instead of saying what I wish I had known, I actually felt like I knew a lot because I had done a lot of things wrong. And one thing I really, really knew to be true, and it came into how I built the MVP for chatprd, is like, people will use a really garbage, broken, limited, not beautiful product if it solves a real problem. So like, the number one thing to figure out is not like what the app looks like or how does it scale or should it be this UX or that UX, is like, literally, does anybody have this problem? And if you find something that is a real problem and you build even the thinnest of solutions that address that problem, customers will pull it from you. And so I actually, my MVP of ChatPurD was a GPT in the GPT store. And it wasn't fancy and I couldn't monetize it. And it wasn't as feature rich and, enterprise scale as my product is now, but it solved a problem. And that was good enough. And so I just, to any builder out there, get it out in public and get it to your users and make sure you're solving a real problem, and the rest will come.
So that reminds me, one thing that I wish I knew on the week 1 of our startup is how to identify a real problem. So when my co-founder and I started Jam, we were both product managers before. We were like, let's do this the product manager way. And so the first thing we did out of the gate is we did like 50 user interviews. And what we heard in these interviews, like, people were so, like, impassioned about the problem. We thought, like, we hit a home run.
Yeah.
But it turns out we were doing user interviewing wrong. And the one mistake we made is we were sort of leading the witness. So we were asking them, like, do you have this problem? Would this solve this for you? But people don't want to give you bad news. And the one change I wish we made on day 1, instead of doing it 4 months later, is by just asking people, what are your biggest problems at work right now? What are your biggest priorities in the next few months? How will you get a promotion? What do you get graded on at work? And just seeing if the problem we're trying to solve comes up.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think people are really eager to please and they want to say, oh yeah, that's interesting. Of course I would try that if you built it. But the reality is it actually takes a lot of friction to get over someone doing what they do now to doing something different. And so they really have to feel day to day a pain, and your problem's got to solve that, or your product's got to solve that.
Yeah, it's like, the thing that I didn't quite appreciate is, learning a new tool is inherently painful. Like you have to stop what you are doing, learn something new. That is just a difficult experience. It's actually just not fun. And
Yeah.
so something has to be not just a little painful, but extremely painful every day in order to be like, okay, fine, like I'll like install your software. What do you want from me? Okay, so I have a spicy take.
Yeah.
So what Claire said, I think is right in some cases, which is just ship, like get it out to users. But if you're building collaboration software, um, I think that you have to take the exact opposite approach. And this is something that I wish I knew on day one of building Jam. So when we first built Jam, we basically followed the standard startup advice, which is like ship fast, ship messy, ship a broken product. You'll know you have product market fit if people sort of jump through hoops to use it. But with collaboration software, people are taking reputational damage if the thing doesn't work well and they're trying to use it with their colleagues. And so people just could not use a buggy product. And actually, so we shipped 7 buggy flavors of jam that like had no PMF, no usage. And then the 8th one, we were just sick and tired. We are like, let's do exactly the opposite of what we've been doing. And we decided to make it production ready on day 1, like no bugs. And actually this one just took off. And I don't think it's a coincidence. I think there's probably like banking software, medical software, like communication software where it's like the stakes are just higher because it's like reputation on the line and it just has to work day 1.
Yeah, I think it has to work, but you'd be surprised at the like complexity you need. You don't really need that much complexity in the product. Like the core thing has to work, right? People are like, it's just a GPT. I was like, yeah, but it's mine and it's a good one. Like that is actually sufficient. And so of course you don't want bugs, but I think people polish before they know they've even solved a core problem. And I actually had somebody talk to me yesterday and they say, what if I ship something and and I get it in the hands of users and users are using it and then I want to change it. And I said, so you're telling me your problem that you're worried about is so many people use your product that it's painful for you to change it? Like that's rich people problems. That's like, I'll take that problem all day. I'll take the problem all day of like customers are using my product and now I got to change it on them. That's scary. And I said, the most likely thing is like no one uses your product. So, I always try to calibrate on like, how are you going to get to really solving a problem? What are rich people problems versus like existential problems, and like plan for the existential problems in my mind.
One other thing related to this that I wish we knew on day 1, took us a long time to figure out, is when things aren't working, there are just a couple questions that if you ask users who churned are really clarifying. And the question is, hey, why did you sign up? Like there was a reason why you signed up. What did you have in mind? What did you think this would do or be when you signed up? And
Yeah.
then where did the reality not meet your expectation?
Yeah.
Because people know what they want. There was like a reason they signed up. Then you had something else on the other end of the sign up and they're like, oh, that's not what I wanted. And so if you just make the reality meet the expectation, you sort of get to PMF.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's exactly right.
There are tons of chats about, okay, the hardest part is getting your first 1 to 10 users. What do you wish you know, or what did you do well? You're like, everyone should know this on day 1.
I mean, every startup that I've done personally, and I've done a lot, like more than are on my LinkedIn. I have had like a trail of broken startup dreams. Some good, some bad, some acquired, some not, some funded, some not. And the thing that I think is most critical that people really underestimate, and again, your mileage will vary, this is just where I live, is like founder market fit, which is, what people are going to buy from Clairvo, X 3-time chief product and technology officer. They're going to buy software to make you a better product manager. Like there's just this really core for me, the products that I'm working on, product founder fit, where my expertise, my network, my community, my product all really fit well together. And so I have this like mini cheat code of I know the space, I'm in the market, I know where the users are, and I know how to speak to them. And that's been the way that I've been able to get early customers. But again, like people look at that and they're like, oh, well, Claire has distribution. Of course, her product's doing well. I built that over 2 decades of working in startups, and I started really late. And so what I would tell people is like getting out in public, building your network, talking about what you're doing, building cheerleaders, figuring out what spaces you want to be in. It takes a long time, but it will eventually pay off, and like no better day than today. That being said, there's all sorts of ways you can get your first users. If you don't have that network, there's lots of like little tactics that I'm sure Dani, you and I could riff off of. But that's one of the things that I thought was so important is find a space that I was really credible in, that I knew a lot about, and that I knew a lot of people in. So I could get my product in the hands of those folks.
That's actually something I wish I knew on day one is the founder. So it's like a founder company fit. It
Mhm.
goes beyond distribution. When my co-founder and I were like, "Hey, what should we build? Like, what should our startup be?" The first thing we did is we made a Notion doc with like 140 ideas in it. I mean, just like all these ideas that we actually don't care about.
Yeah.
And we got really lucky that in the meeting we had to discuss our notion of ideas, we actually just started by like venting about how our product team worked. And we're like, should we just solve our own problem? And that became Jam. But there was like, it's like a millisecond difference to we almost started a company that we actually don't care about. And there's something about being a founder where like, actually, if it goes well, like if you achieve all your dreams, it's going to be like a 15, 20-year part of your life. Like it's actually really significant. And every single day you wake up and you do really, really hard things. Like it is emotionally hard because the company's on your shoulders, as you all know. Like, and it's like your responsibility to take it to where it needs to be. And so if you don't love the space, if you don't love the lifestyle, like if you don't like to travel, but the company's in manufacturing, or like you don't like doing sales, but the company's like has to do an enterprise sales motion, like if you don't like whatever. If you don't like the company, everything is hard. So I wish I knew that on day one. We sort of lucked into it. How did you get your first five? Did you just tweet? Who
Oh,
was
no, no,
the
no.
first
I
five?
mean, literally the origin story of chatprd was I had gotten into generative AI and was really experimenting with it. And even as a chief product officer, people always are like, oh man, founders and executives, they have these like cushy, fun lives where they just like sit and think about strategy and do little like live streams. No, we are just like I spend most of my time in the support chat, which I'm not in right now. So if you have any issues with chatprd, just give me a minute. Um, support. And so when I was a chief product officer, I was, of course, I was strategically running the team and hiring people and doing all that executive work. I was also a PM on the team. I had products that I was running. And so I was writing PRDs. And so I prototyped for myself this GPT that could write PRDs for me. And I wrote a PRD, I remember, between like a 10 o'clock meeting and a 12:30 meeting where somebody was like, we need this PRD. And I wrote it. And my team was like, how did you write this? Like, it's really good. How did you write this thing? And I was like, let me put you on something. And so again, this is what it is. That was not a product. That was a problem they had. Every PM on my team had the problem. I have no time and I'm expected to write a bunch of docs. Solve that problem for me and I'm happy. And so my first users came from my own team and they loved it. And then of course the GPT itself on the OpenAI marketplace got, some usage and people thought it was interesting, got featured as like a writing GPT. And then when I launched the paid product, I tweeted about it, but I just every week did a release tweet for like the first 36 weeks of the product. Where just like every day I just talked about it. So that was it.
That's it's like start as an internal tool because inherently there's just a team of
Yeah.
people with this problem that you
Yeah.
can build for. The
Yeah.
way
So that
we
could be
did
your
it, yeah.
friends. That could be your friends. That could be, people in your network, or that could be people you work with.
We did almost the exact opposite. So yours is start with like sort of the people literally around you. And we started with total strangers sourced from the internet. And the way that we did it is, well, first we did it wrong. Like the first 7 times we tried to launch Jam, we did a product hunt launch and like hundreds of people signed up and the next day no one used it. And it was really, really hard to track down that feedback. And so for the 8th one, we were like, let's do the exact opposite of this. So we posted in a couple subreddits and we said like, we're building a product that does X, like that makes it easier to fix bugs. If you use Linear, because it was like a tool that we integrated with, sign up to be in our beta. And then we handpicked 5 people. We're like, let's just onboard 5. Let's see if we if we can get 5 people to use our product every single week. And the only thing we cared about was retention. It was like weekly streaks. Like, do they use it every single week? So my co-founder kept this like Google sheet, and we would like literally just color in the cells of the sheet representing each week, like green or not color it in. And we were just looking for these streaks. Then we had 5, and we're like, great, let's get to 10. And so we went very, very slowly using these changes off the internet, but it gave us a ton of clarity if we were on the right track because of retention.
Yeah, totally. And one thing I want to call out in your story, and maybe it answers some of the questions, is still people are like, great, I don't work with a team, so I can't give them my product. I don't have a network. I don't tweet. And what I would tell people is, if you're like, how do I find my first 5 users? Make a list. I always give this advice. Make a list of accessible channels to you. So it's like, what are sources of humans that I can go experiment with, and make a list. So that could be, I think product hunt users could be a source of users for me. Or I think I can find people on Reddit. That could be a source of users for me. Or there's enough paid search volume that I could put $500 to this and do paid search ads and get people to a landing page. Or there's a meetup and I can go demo this and find, like, make that list and prioritize that list. I could start to TikTok about it. Maybe that's a source for user. Like, make that list and just test the channel and prioritize that list and see if you can find, like, if you can find one that gives you 5 users a week for the first 3 months, like, that is good enough. Like, lean into the channel. And so, I think people are like, oh, try this, try that, make a real list of where you can source your early users and put some real thoughtful effort into doing that channel well. And usually you can find 1 or 2 that work.
What's so funny is, so now every day there's like 700-ish people who sign up for Jam. But the way that we're finding those users is by doing exactly what you said. It's actually the same motion we were doing on day 1 to find our first 10. It's just like, we're like, where are builders at? Like, let's go chat there.
Yes, exactly.
And so it's actually, you're building the muscle you're going to be using for the length of the company, I think.
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Okay, I have a question for you. So, spicy question. You're doing your list of distribution channels, you're trying to get in users. At what point do you just say this doesn't work and you switch to a different idea?
Okay. So again, one of the I've been a product leader for a long time. I've done startups for a long time. One of the gifts that chatprd has given me is like the raw feel of product market fit. And I think it is just like people that you do user research with want you to win. You want to believe in your baby. You want to believe like this thing has product market fit. Always. I have done startups for year where I'm like, oh, this thing, it just, if I tweak this or just tweak that, it's definitely going to work. And the reality is, like, product market fit is such a raw feeling. And I'll just tell you a couple like aspects of product market fit. It was a GPT and people wanted it anyways. It didn't need to be at the beginning any fancier product than that. The speed to which people will tell you your site has a bug or your support volume takes off, like, that is a sign of product market fit. When people want it, even when it's, maybe has an issue, or especially when it has an issue, product market fit. People are willing to give $1, product market, like, and so I do think I hold a pretty high bar for product market fit, in that it is never, in my experience, a little like one more feature or one more tweak, or if I just make this button this color, if I just add this thing. It is categorically, have I solved a problem people really worry about every day? And so what I think is, if your users are telling me this is not an urgent problem and they don't come back every week or they don't come back every day, I don't think it's about giving up. I think it's about saying, have I hit the right problem? So I just really urge people, there's 2 things that I urge people to do. Don't convince yourself you have product market fit when you don't. It's never just one more feature. And then think more broadly about the problem you could be solving, right? Like, Dani, I think you're starting with a, what might feel like a pretty narrow use case, but like the problem is, it's just like totally painful to fix things as a product team. And I think if you just take, like, I say 1 degree wider view at what your problem space could be, you can usually find a problem that's worth solving. And And again, there's no, I think what's so exciting about tools like Lovable and building an AI is it's actually not that expensive to pivot anymore. So like it used to be you had to put 3 or 6 months of development in to like prototype a tool. And then if you like gave up, you're like, well, just wasted 3 to 6 months of time and effort and capital. And now it's like, oh, that was like 2 weeks of work. Like, let's do another 2 weeks of work and try something different. So I think right now it's really exciting time because the cost of pivot is pretty low.
That's amazing. My favorite chart on the internet is Lenny did this chart of like companies you have heard of and then how long it took them to first feel PMF. And it's like all these companies where you just aspire to build something like Notion and Figma, they took years.
Yeah.
And it's very humbling because now it's probably faster because you can pivot faster, you can learn faster, but it just takes a long time to hit PMF. And if I'm being extremely honest, this was the hardest time in the company for me because you're just living in a land of uncertainty and you don't know if and when anything will start working, and yet you've told a team to trust you, you've told your family, you told your friends, like it's so vulnerable, everyone can see this is the thing you're working on and nothing's working, and you've never worked harder in your whole life. And so I'm curious if there's anything that you wish you knew on week 1 about just managing your psychology through the early stages of startup.
Oh my God. I mean, I think it's the number one barrier to success. Honestly, like I have 2 kids, and the thing that I try to teach them in terms of like maybe being successful later in their life is like emotional resilience, like optimism, self-management, because so many, people say this, like more more companies die of suicide than homicide, like more of them implode because of internal issues than they do
Right.
from like some external factor, right? It's like founder conflict, burnout, like all those things. And so I agree with you, Danny. Like I've done startups for a really long time. It is a very vulnerable thing. And so like I want to shout out everybody in the chat that is building something and showing it off. I think the act of creation and putting it to the world is like such a vulnerable and awesome and badass move. Like you're way ahead of everybody else if you're brave enough to do that. But it's super vulnerable. It's very personal. Like I've hired my friends. I worked with my husband and I co-founded a company when I was pregnant. Like it's intense. And I think there's a couple things you have to remember. Like I am not my product. Like my product is there and I'm a person that has worth and value and whatever, despite my retention cohorts on my product. Like as personal as it feels, like you are not your company. You are a person and you are building your company. I think the second thing that I would love to tell everybody is like, I've been around long enough, it all works out. Like I have done bad startups, I have done good startups, I have worked at bad companies and good companies. And like at the end of the day, companies can go to zero, people can, and like it's all okay. You've built skills. People don't look down on you. They actually think you're brave for trying stuff. Like it all works out. So I always try to tell people, like I try to hype people up and say like, I know it's going to be fine. Even in the worst case scenario, you are better off than most people in the world for have tried something and for have learned something and be able to do something that you love. And then I would say, like, as I say to all people, like sleep, sunshine, exercise, water, like take care of yourself because you are what's driving this company forward, and you gotta be healthy enough to do it.
That's amazing advice. So in the early days, I remember being very, very aware of competition. There's like in the early days, if you make even a little bit of noise, you're so early. There's like a copycat, and they can really catch up because your product only like a month old. And so, what do you wish you knew about competition the first week of building
I mean,
chatprd or
maybe
any of the
the
startups?
same thing I said before, which is like companies die of suicide, not homicide. Like competition is a good thing. Competition means that there's a market there that somebody thinks is valuable. So like I see competition as validation, and I see competition as indication that there is a sizable enough market to potentially support multiple winners. And then you cannot control what your competitors do. You can be aware of it, you can be smart, you can try to forecast, you can try to be strategic, but like you cannot control them. You can control you. And so I always say it just goes back to like, do we believe in our strategy? Do we believe how we're executing? I just like getting distracted, looking over your shoulder. I don't think benefits anybody. And I also rarely worry. I rarely get jealous of competitors. I get jealous of companies that are in any space that are executing better than I'm executing. So it's like I don't get jealous of somebody who has like a feature I don't have. I get jealous of somebody who has a team that moves faster than I do. Like that makes me mad. So but because again, it's a reflection of like these are things I can control and I want to execute better.
I love that's like freaking inspiring. Okay, what do you wish you knew day one about building a team? When and how?
Oh, I mean, I'm like trying not to build a team, so maybe I'm the wrong person to ask. I built chatprd for the first 9 months all by myself. So and I'm like very much how far can I push this thing with like just me and a bunch of AI agents and a few people. We have hired a couple folks early on. And again, I think this goes to like founder life. We hired like believers. So the first growth hire was somebody who had just organically made a YouTube video about how much they love chatprd. And I reached out to her and I just said, this was awesome. And she goes, well, if you ever need anything, I can do stuff for you. And I was like, great, you can work for us now. And same with my friend that runs sales for us. He's just like fascinated by the shape of the business and we like each other. And so, what I would say about hiring is there's all sorts of stuff about, high talent bar. And Dani, you're doing more hiring than I am. So I'd love to hear your point of view. For me, I always ask myself, is headcount the problem? Like, is my real problem that I don't have a salesperson, or is my real problem I don't have product market fit? And like, is my real problem I don't have an engineer, or is the real problem I'm building features that no one wants? Like, that's kind of like I try to get down to like, what's the actual problem I have, and will headcount solve that problem? And then I always wait till it's like so deeply painful. There's no other solution. And then I do it. But again, I'm trying to keep the team really, really lean. So I'm taking a totally different point of view here. I'd love to, you're hiring a lot more. So what do you wish you had known?
There's one piece of advice I got sort of late, but wish I had sort of appreciated on day one. I talked to someone who he's like, I'm on my third company, like the first two were acquired. And I was like, yes. And he's like, okay, so the first two like didn't work. And I'm like, okay. So I was like, so what should I know as a first time founder? And he's like, well, like at some point it might end, and then what do you wish you had gotten to do? And all you get is the experience every day of building it. So just make sure it's a team that you're like, gosh, I feel so lucky I got to build it with this amazing team. And it sort of changes how you think. Of course you want an amazing team, but it changes how you think about it. It's like you want people on board where you just feel so darn lucky that you get to like have this experience of trying to shape like a little corner of the world with them. Like that's really special.
I agree. Life's too
Okay,
short.
speaking of life's too short, if you had to do it again, would you be solo for 9 months, or like was that just the way to do it?
Oh, I did it. I mean, so just so everybody knows, I did it solo for 9 months while this was 1,000% not my full-time job. So I had a CPTO job at launchdarkly. I just left 2 weeks ago. So I just decided to go full-time on chatprd. Again, wait until it was so deeply painful that there was no other choice. No, I would do it 100% this way. I don't like you're living a different life than me, Dani, but I will just say self-funded, bootstrapped, profitable, high growth startup, a small team, it's the way to live. It is. I'm living my best life. So I think I benefited a lot from keeping it super lean early on. And why I think I benefited a lot is, again, like very consistent throughout this whole conversation. You can convince yourself that building things will get you, like building more will get you product market fit, or doing more will get you product market fit. And in fact, the constraints of being just me, or the constraints of having a very small team, forced me to only build the things that people were like banging my door down to build. So we always stayed on like the like vibrating edge of product market fit, because we could never build something. I didn't have the capacity to build something that was like hypothetical but not actually useful. And it really forced me to look at like, where are we constrained? Are we capital constrained? Are we headcount constrained? Are we marketing constrained? Like, where are we constrained? And I think those constraints just put a lot of honesty into the business, that I think even now that I'm full time and it's scaling and it's like growing like crazy, even then I think philosophically they should really benefit the health of the business. Like, That is what I think of myself as building. I don't think of myself as building a product or a startup. Like I think of myself as building a business. It's like a totally different mindset. And I think the constraints benefited me. And it was also very fun. I had a good time. Have a good time.
I think this goes back to the founder company fit. Like, you're like, this just feels right to you. And for me, I want the experience of like doing like musical theater in high school to be my startup experience. I like need a team.
Mm.
We need to vibe.
No, people don't know this. I am like extreme introvert. Like I was watching Silicon Valley and I was watching whatever the main character's name is, and he's like
Yeah,
always
yeah.
on the couch with a laptop with his like hood down and his headphones. I'm like, that is my bliss space. Like I could be in my house like that for weeks, no one speaking to me, and I would just be happy, happy as a clam. So despite all the like podcast and like razzle dazzle in the TikTok, I am just an introvert at heart. So keep my team small.
What do you wish you knew about making money on day one?
Oh, I'm building a business. I only do this to make money. So I think people, again, there's like problem market fit and then there's product market fit, and commercial value matters to me. This is a lesson that I think was very important to me as a chief product and technology officer, where I'm leading large teams, which again, I'm pretty good at. I just, got to go home and recover in my hoodie. But to my product managers, it's not sufficient to build a product that solves a problem if it has no commercial value. Like if people are not willing to pay for it, it's not interesting to me in the course of running a business. And so I do think commercial fit really matters. And part of why chatprd is now what it is I decided early on to test monetization strategies. And I just knew like this could be an interesting problem to solve for people, but if they did not value it, it's not worth my time. And so I started, first it was free on the GPT store, and then I launched it and I charged $2 a month. It was like so, so cheap. It was like $2 a month. I just want to see if you'll give me a credit card. People gave me a credit card and people really wanted it. And then I charged like $5 a month. And then I charged like $8 a month. And now our most popular plan is like $25 a month. And so, and it's because over the course of it wasn't just that I increased the price, it was that I added more features and more value and more capabilities, and then was able to increase the price. And so I do really believe in testing early monetization, even if it's like $1, $2, because when people get out their credit card, that's when you know everything. Like other than that, it's like a interesting hobby or a nice little tool. And Dani, you've had great success with like freemium to paid model. And so it's a great source of leads, but at some point you got to make money, and testing that early is important.
What one thing that's I should mention here is, how do I know Claire? We had a only free product for what our investors would call a little too long. And
Mm-hmm.
our investors wanted us to start making some money. And so they said, here, talk to Claire. She'll teach you how. And that is legitimately how we know each other.
Yeah, I was like, just a $9. I don't care. Just get a credit card in there. Yes. So if anybody needs somebody to call their portfolio company and convince them to charge $1, I'm very available.
So, okay, when you say like I wanted to test pricing, was it like $2 even just to sign up? Did you do like a little free trial and then $2? Did you try to like, did you just do $2 and it was a binary test?
Yeah, no. So I mean, literally, it's like, will somebody give me $2? And so at some point, you put a paywall in front of it and you say $2 to continue. Our early plan was actually $12 a year. So I was like, look, it's so cheap that even if somebody only uses it for a month, they've gotten value out of it. So I think our first launch product was a annual plan for chatprd.ai, the hosted product, and it was $12 a year. And there's some people still grandfathered into that. They get like all of our features. So um, $12 a year. And basically, I looked at people who paid that versus abandoned, versus said like try it for free. And try it for free, we just let them use like 3 free chats. So we didn't do an extended freemium. We don't have like a free forever plan. It's really like, for me, especially lean, solo founder, self-funded, it's like either you think it's valuable and want to pay for it at some point, or you're not a great customer fit for us now and love you and I hope you come back later. So we were just like pretty focused on paid users that got value out of it.
And then how did you figure out 25 a month? Like, did that number come from anywhere? Is it like a vibe pricing?
No. So I think we did kind of like market compare. Like you have to look at what the market comparison is. And so, early on we were competing against basically our own GPT. And so it was like free versus what. And I thought early on the hosted version had some additional features that really made it worth an extra, whatever, handful of dollars a month. As we added more features, again, it was like I was always baselining against, is it better than ChatGPT Plus? Is it better than Claude for this use case? And if I could tell myself yes, then I said, okay, well, then I can charge as much or a little more for it. And then I also look at, again, this is like advice for anybody that's going into B2B. And I always tell my product managers, like, who holds the wallet? And so it's not, will somebody pay for it? It's like, who's going to pay for it and where does their budget come from? And so I'm looking at where do product and engineering leaders have budget because we sell more and more to teams. What kind of tools are in their portfolio? What is like the price range of those tools and how are the prices set? And then do we reasonably sit in a price range that is both reasonable for peer companies and ROI positive for our customers? And I think we're super cheap for the value we provide. And so we'll continue to add features. We'll continue to adjust pricing, but we just try to stay market aware, high ROI.
We did something similar. Like, I want every product experience inside Jam to feel like going down a slide versus like climbing a ladder. Like you don't have to think about each thing. It's just like feels very frictionless. And I think part of that is like when you upgrade to a paid plan, you shouldn't stop and be like, what is happening? And so we're like, okay, what's simple pricing? That's sort of what you already expected before you click this button.
Yeah.
So we just looked at all the other tools people use and we're like, great. So right in the middle.
Yeah. Yeah. That's, as good as any, right?
Okay, what are the other big problems people are facing this week in building their products? What can we give
advice on?
Yeah. What about data privacy?
This one, it's anybody building with AI tools. It's gonna be like the number one question you get answered at any scale. We try to keep it super simple. We don't fine tune or train on your data. We don't use your data for anything other than delivering your service. And I will be the smallest SOC 2 certified company, I think, in the world in the next couple of weeks. Wow. So like I just prioritized early on security compliance because we work with businesses' strategic data. And having been in enterprise software, I just know that's going to be the number one blocker. And so I think like, here's my advice to folks that maybe are starting to get the hooks of a product that works, but that you've built it on something like Lovable. Like get familiar with data access, like, your multi-tenant handling of data. Like you need to know how those things work and you need to know how your sub-processors or the vendors that you're using use and manage your data as well. And I think the good news is, Lovable, suggests and integrates with technologies that have a foundationally secure kind of approach to privacy and compliance. And most of the commercial LLM models do as well, because again, it's a barrier for them. But it's certainly something customers worry about. It's probably the number one FAQ question that we get. And we take it very seriously.
We got the advice to do SOC 2 as early as possible as well. We were very skeptical at the beginning. But sort of like how Claire was describing hiring, like, is headcount really the problem? We got to a point where is not having SOC 2 really the problem? The answer was so painfully yes.
Yeah, it was totally yes. It's totally yes. And it makes all sorts of other problems go away.
How did you survive 10 years? I don't think that's right.
No. I didn't survive 10 years without making money. How do I survive 10 years without making money from my startups? I did other jobs. So like, I just think there's no shame in working on something while you have a job, it takes a lot of time. Like I work a lot on the weekends. I work before, as I say, before school and after school. And the advice I would give people is I'm like such a Girl Scout, Dani. I don't know if you know this. Every time I'm working on a side project with where I'm at a company, I disclose it because I don't want them to own my IP. I don't want there to be any issues or any surprises. So when I came into launchdarkly, they knew I had chatprd. We had like carved off the IP. I was like, I didn't do it during work hours. I didn't do it on work computers. And so the way I've been able to fund some of my startup dreams is like work jobs, save money, that sort of thing.
I'll give you the opposite, the exact opposite approach, which is on day 0 of the company, we raised money from VCs.
Yeah.
And the bootstrap way is like, it sounds lovely, but the VC way is also lovely. And here's why it was particularly great for us as first time founders. We needed time to make mistakes. It's just the reality. I wish I could have told you like we hit the ground running. It's been fun and games since, but it actually took us a little while to get our feet. And if we had not raised VC funding, Jam would not exist today,
Yeah.
because we needed to make some mistakes and we needed a team. We needed all hands on deck. How are we going to make this happen? Raising VC is really confusing if you've never done it. It's sort of like, have you ever had to hire someone? Or it's like, and then suddenly you understand how to do the job interview better. It's like if you've never hired someone, you don't know how to, or like if you never, you don't know how to interview. So the thing I'll say about raising VC is that it is like a job interview. You want people to want to work with you, and so you should think through that perspective. How do you become a great collaborator and show that that's who you are? And so it's like if you reach out cold to VCs, like how do you have a great, just super warm, very compelling email where they just really want to meet you? Like
Yeah.
if you meet with them, how do you just have a great chat? Like it should feel like, oh, let's work together for a really long time.
Yeah. And Dani, I totally agree with you. Like people are like, oh, chatprd done so well over the last 18 months since you launched it. And I was like, no, I've done this product career for two decades of like accruing this wisdom, these skills, these like hard lessons. And so yeah, we're at like at different stages of our like founding life. And I've already made all those expensive mistakes. So I prefer not to take VC to make more of them. I'd rather just like take the lessons learned and see if I can hack this one on my own.
One two other things that like kind of the things that I tell everyone I know who's about to raise VC. The first is I actually used to be a VC right before starting Jam, and most people don't think VCs read cold emails, but I read every cold email and every cold DM I got because actually you don't get that many. Like you get, I don't know, 10 a week, and so you read them, and so actually you've got a pretty good shot at being funded through a cold message. And the second is it's really hard to make your pitch deck if you've never seen one before, so we just left ours online. So if you're writing a pitch deck, ours is at deck.jam.dev, so you can see an example if it's helpful to see one. Okay, I've got one last question before Talisha comes back on, which is, Claire, what's your tool stack building chatprd?
Oh, that's a fun one. Lovable, of course. So front end prototypes, design, all that wonderful stuff. I particularly love Lovable for any data visualization products that you're building. It's just like so much easier than doing anything else. So the technical stack of chatprd, I've tweeted about this before. You can probably dig it up. Next app deployed on Vercel, Clerk for auth, Neon for database, a variety of LLMs behind the scenes, LaunchDarkly, of course, for testing prompt and model configuration. So if anybody's interesting in that piece, use TipTap and LiveBlocks for our document editor. And for kind of more operation stuff, we use Intercom's Fin for support, handles like 70% of our support. So that helps us scale a bunch. For a Stripe for payments, of course, to make money. And then we use, from a development perspective, it's me and 2 engineers. We're like Cursor, Devin kind of and little Claude Code for some of the AI assisted coding. I'm like Devin's #1 reply guy. Love that little software agent. So Devin's like our team of interns and my weekend hack buddy. I think that's like most of the good stuff.
Okay, question from Samson. What prompted you to build chatprd?
I had no time. I had a problem. Like I had a problem. I had no time. Like, and this is what's really interesting is like I didn't identify the problem being like PMs need to write PRDs. The problem is actually PMs have no time. That is the problem. And actually engineers have no time. No one has time. That is like the problem I'm solved. Dani disappeared, so I'm going to do this. And so I'm solving the problem that people don't have time. What are the things that take time? They are writing documents, collaborating, project management, getting clarity, alignment. And so that is the problem I solved.
Awesome.
Dani disappeared on us.
I was like, did you take me off the screen?
No, you left completely.
Oh, damn it.
Yeah. And then I just started.
Okay, wonderful.
We're doing it live.
Doing it live, everybody. Thank you all so much. So before we go, everyone would love to know what is your final piece of advice for their first week of Shift. A lot of people, they're non-technical, first-time founders. They didn't even know they could start a tech startup. And here they are on their first ever tech startup journey. What's your one whippy piece of advice for them?
You're already so far ahead. Like I just keep that in your heart and in your mind. There are so many people sitting on ideas that just will never build them. And so the fact that you have taken one step forward to build a prototype, build a product, try to make a business, you will not believe how far ahead you are right now. So even when you feel like you're really far behind, just know that you're way ahead of like 99% of people with ideas because you built something. So keep that with you and keep going.
This is maybe the most positive corner of the internet, and building things is so fun, and it's so cool that you are all doing this together. And so I hope that you will champion each other, and that when one person ships something, everyone goes and uses it and like pumps it up, and that you do that for each other because otherwise building is so lonely, and it doesn't have to be.
Yep. Yes, I love it. Now, where can everybody find you on socials? How can they get in touch with you if they want to share? Where are you in the world?
Yeah, I'm on X at Clairvo, also on LinkedIn. I do a weekly podcast called How I AI. So if you're looking to learn more about AI and tools like Lovable, check that out. Comes out every Monday on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple, or whatever you find your podcasts. And I'm trying to bring back the TikTok. So if you want to help me get out of TikTok, I know Dani's excited. If you want to help me get out of TikTok jail, follow at Chief Product Officer on TikTok for very niche product and engineering TikToks.
I love it. And I'm the Dani Grant on X. And if you want a podcast before your podcast after the weekend, we do the AI speed run at Jam. So we talk to CTOs and VPs of Eng about how they're using engineering, like how they're using AI in their actual engineering team to ship to prod.
Nice. Wonderful. Well, thank you, ladies, so much. This has been such a pleasure. Y'all were really dropping gems left and right. I wish I had this when I was first starting out with my first startup years and years ago. There was nothing like this. I was just on my own, little country girl from Georgia with like literally no one knew anything about tech startups. And I was like, well, I guess I have to figure it out. So like you said, they're already so far ahead. Thank you so much again. Thank you everybody for joining us.